Microban 24 protects against Staphylococcus aureus and Enterobacter aerogenes bacteria, but does not provide 24-hour protection against viruses. Every time you touch a surface, you leave behind bacteria. To keep surfaces sanitized all day, use Microban 24 sanitizing spray. Spray on hard surfaces to kill 99.9% of viruses and bacteria initially, including the virus that causes COVID-19. Once dry, Microban 24 sanitizing spray is effective for 24 hours on bacteria when used as directed.
At Charmin, we heard you shouldn't talk about going to the bathroom in public, so we decided to sing about it.
I love my Charmin Super Mega Golden Rolls, yeah. Gold Stash it's TP Goals, yeah. Charmin's got 6 rolls in one, lasts forever on my buns. Only Super Mega when I'm cleaning. Charmin's got my booty believing.
Charmin Super Mega Roll is 6 regular rolls in one. Enjoy the go with Charmin.
What does a astronaut do when they get back to Earth? I really, really want to know.
Every Little Thing answers your burning questions. Like, what's it like for an astronaut returning home after a year in space?
I would be completely comfortable going out the hatch on another spacewalk. But if I had been dropped in the middle of a busy grocery store, I would have been aiming for the door.
Hear more on Every Little Thing. Tap now to listen on Spotify.
man, happy 2021. Hope you're all doing well. It's good to see it. It's good to be back, you know. Let me, bam, post that up. I don't know why, but this new version of the open broadcast software, the Streamlabs version, just the webcam stuff, it's been crazy. So it's not running at like full capacity. It's weird. It's like choppy, but whatever. doesn't mean we can't paint. You know what I mean? So today what we're going to be doing is we are going to be doing portrait studies. That's just something I've been doing. If I can't think of what to paint, if I don't have a big project or like a client brief or something like that, I actually really like just trying different techniques doing portraits. And we'll just be looking at that today. I'll probably be hopping between Affinity Photo and Art Rage. Those are kind of my two go-tos when I want to stay fairly loose, but then have some options to kind of refine stuff. But I'll just kind of narrate a little bit while I'm going through it, just to kind of, you know, do that for you. And I'll kind of go through the different stock photo websites I go to. Usually, I mean, the best way to do portraits, in my opinion, is painting from life. But when you don't want to, you know, call someone over to your place and be like, hey, can you sit still for 6 hours while I paint you? Usually getting a photo is a better way to do that. So we'll look at that and kind of break it down, and I'll go just through the normal method that I normally do, because I know I got a lot of people asking about that, about like how do I approach just doing general practice and studies, which is something I do every single day. I at least make one painting or sketch or some piece of art a day, and that's the way it's always going to be. Sometimes it's for client stuff, sometimes it's stuff I can't show on social media. Like I just wrapped up 3 out of my 4 Warhammer deals. Can't show any of those yet till they get the go ahead. But just know art is being made every day and it's always going to be that way. So what we'll do, let's kick over to the old live scene here. So this is Affinity Photo, and I actually have a nice like hour-and-a-half long video. If you have questions about what art programs I use, they're all kind of right up here. Affinity Photo, Sketchbook, Metabang, Rebel 3. I need to get Rebel 4. Clip Studio, Krita, Paintstorm Studio, and Art Rage. I do have Photoshop over here. I said I'd uninstall it, but I still kind of use it. There's one feature in particular that I use it for, and it's the mixer brush, which I also have a YouTube tutorial video on. But we have Affinity started. So what we're going to do, actually, let me open this new tab and drag this over, because what I need is something from like, let's do Pexels. Yeah. So there's Pexels, there's Pixabay, there's quite a few different websites you can go to for free stock photos. And you can see I do a lot of looks anyway. So let's actually look at portrait again. So when I look for reference, I look for lighting and I look for contrast, because that's going to tell you more about the form of the face and the bone structure and all that stuff. So if you have if you have a portrait that's flat lit, and by flat, it's almost like soft lighting, you can definitely do a study of it, but it makes it more difficult, especially if you're just starting out doing them, because you can't really tell where the contours of the face are. You can't tell how long is the bridge of the nose compared to where is the eyebrow bone, where is all that. But with harsh lighting, with like a very set light right here, casting a shadow, like that gives you more information. So something like, yeah, there's some, I want to find one that's like really softly lit so you could see. And usually whenever you think of like Vogue magazine, okay, so something like this, there's not a lot of contrast in this image. So getting the lightness of the faces would actually be pretty difficult here. Because, yeah, you see a little bit of shadow and stuff like that around the face and the nose, but overall it's fairly flat. You just have the darker around the kind of the tear ducts and the eye socket. But then, you know, like exactly like that's a very close value shift for the nose. So you can't tell how far the nose is coming off the face. So, and it looks fine in a photo because our brain is good at knowing, oh, the lighting's weird. Like our brain fills in that gap. But in a painting, even if it looked exactly like this, people would say the painting was wrong. And it wouldn't be. But you would be like, something's not quite right about it. Something doesn't look right. Because it's just a really tricky thing to do. But on the other hand, if you have harsh lighting, if you have something like no, see, now these are all kind of mid. There's a good harsh light, something like that. Really more of the color is doing the heavy lifting, but you can actually see the forms of the face and how they're catching light. Stuff like this is what I would look for in a study to do. And like this, here's a good one. The half and half, where you have a line straight down the middle. You know exactly where that light's coming from. You know what I mean? But you'll notice that it's not really doing a harsh cast shadow. It's just cutting it in half. The light's still, I bet that's sunlight. It's either that or like a direct bounce light, but it's diffuse enough that it's not like a spotlight, you know, going at him. This one actually looks like a painting. Just the way it's lit. Take a look, see. What do we want to do? Done this one before, but this is a good harsh light. Like, you can tell because look at those shapes. Look at the triangle. You got the Rembrandt triangle. You got, yeah, that's a good one. That's a good portrait reference. Same thing here, but the portrait, I would argue his face is not really the focal point. Let's see, a lot of these are repeating now. Yeah. You can't tell me that Pexels only has like 100 portraits to choose from. Come on. So if we wanted something, this would be a cool one. This would be a cool one just for the shape and the pose. Because I think you have this nice kind of box, rectangular. You have a cool angle here, almost like a triangle, trapezoid type deal. Then circle, rectangles. So yeah, we can look at this one. So actually what I'll do, let me open Pure Ref here. And then we will make this mode always on top. That way what we can do is just drag and drop it. There we go. We got one reference. Let's get one more. We'll move him out of the way right now. Let's do another one. Oh, I know which one I wanted. There is a John Singer Sargent piece that I was going to do a master study of. Boom. Let me bring this up. So, and where are we at? Where are we at? There it is. Yeah. So let me drag that over here. Cool. So this is a blend of like a master study. Here, let me make this way bigger. And a portrait study, because I mean, John Singer Sargent is famous for portraits. So something like this. These type of things are fun because now it's not only to make a portrait, but it's, hey, can you make your painting look like a John Singer Sargent, which is always a fun challenge. So yeah, because I mean, look at that. You can see the oil brush, like the bristles, like right through here, the little bits of paint flecks that where it kind of rubbed off the canvas. Now the real test is, and something that we probably could do, yeah, we actually probably could do this. these colors, these two actually have kind of the same color spectrum. You have your reds right here, reds in the face, reds on the lips. You have that white, you have that white, you have that kind of off grayish color right here. You have your darks on the, my dogs are going crazy, by the way. Your darks on your, gloves and stuff. Same thing for the jacket. So these are actually fairly similar, even though it might not look like it. Like, it's funny that my eye goes to that very Zorn palette, yellow ochres and, you know, scarlet reds and things like that. So yeah, I think we got two winners here. Let's do, if we were gonna do this, what is this ratio? Let's see, maybe a new, let's move this. Let's do a 1,000 width by 1,500 at, let's do 72 DPI, because we're not going to print any of these. It's just going to be kind of for just going to be for web stuff, quick studies. First thing I want to do, start that, get a nice mid-tone, edit, fill with primary color. There we go. Then work on top. Never want to start off with white. You can, of course, but I don't recommend it because it makes seeing actual values pretty tough. But if you start at 50%, you can work lighter or darker depending on how it correlates with perfect gray, which is nice. So let's actually do the real one first. So if we were going to do this, and see, all that I'm looking at right now, whenever I get started this way, and sorry for all the Spotify ads. I don't pay monthly for Spotify. I just don't listen to it that much. Usually I do like YouTube playlists, but also I don't want to chance copyright stuff coming up. So, but anyways, what I normally look for here is to break this apart and make sure the structure of the image matches, because that's kind of the first thing people are going to look at. And then what we can also do, it's real fun, we want to go to canvas grayscale. There we go. Now color's not even part of it yet, so makes it much more simple. Let's come up here. Let's just sketch. Let's do I'll use my free brush pack for this one for right now, at least. So we got that.
Tap the banner to learn.
Got that. Where are we at? Okay, yeah, that's fine. Well, man, those are really sharp. I didn't want them to be that sharp. Let me go to pencils. And these are just like the built-in. Okay, yeah, that's what I wanted. Okay, the built-in affinity pencils. Get rid of some of these. There we go. So that guiding line down, something like that. And you'll notice I'm not too worried about perfectly straight lines and perfect shapes and stuff, because this type of thing is just about refinement all the time. So if his face is looking that way, and the eyes right here, nose coming that way. Okay. So his head's not against the wall. So this is going to be his fur right here. So at this stage, it's fun because like nothing's really set in stone, of course. So it's not about getting a perfect sketch. I like the personality of a portrait to come out during painting. Sketching, what I've realized is it is important to get your proportions right and things like that, but what I primarily use it for is just blocking. So some people block with a big paintbrush, which is totally fine. I'm wanting to be able to sketch better, so this is why I do sketches like this. Okay, so that's a little off, but once again, doesn't need to be an exact copy. This is just us. Us doing an artistic interpretation, because it wouldn't make sense to do a one-for-one for the picture, because the picture already exists. Like, why recreate the thing that already solved the problem, you know? This is just more shape designs, and here's that pocket, kind of comes out a little more. The nice thing about jackets like this, something I've noticed, any sort of over jacket has nice lines kind of telling you where it is. So here's the middle seam of the middle of the shoulder, and then from here is where that arm comes out at the angle. You'll notice here I'm really super messy, but it's because that way I can pick the right thing out of the mess. Something like that. No, that needs to be a little higher. So right now it looks like his neck is like 10 foot long. I wonder if the better fur up here will help with that. And then kind of erase around here. And it's funny, where likeness really starts happening is whenever you put down your values, your lights and your darks, because that's going to tell you your form. Got that. You get the shape correct. Get rid of that ear, I'll put it back later. Get rid of that. That's throwing me off a little bit. And like I said, the sketch part of it isn't necessarily... I mean, it can be, but it doesn't necessarily need to be where the likeness really hits, because whenever you put your forms in there, that's where it's really gonna make more sense. When you do your values. Yeah. That's the thing about noses and stuff. Noses don't look right until you paint them. It's just the way it is. Can't really draw noses, you know? I haven't figured out a great way to do it besides where's the nostril, where's the... oh, whatever that part is. That. And actually, yours comes over a little more, something like that. Really what it is boom, boom. Let's simplify that shape. Comes up a little more. Hairline. Be up kind of before it's over. So that's there. Yeah, eye's a little big and it's a little too far back. See, the sketch part is my... ugh. To me, this is the hardest part of a piece. Like, you can give me paints and colors and stuff all day, but blocking out exactly where things go is a nightmare. I honestly spend more time on this if I want to do a general sketch than I do on the rest of the painting combined. That's full render, that's everything. Like, this is the part that, for whatever reason, whoops my butt. Okay, so if here is here, that's about right. Maybe I'm just trying to over detail it too quick. Maybe I'm trying to put too many actual features in before I start even doing this. So like, that. So if that comes straight down. Right now what I'm looking at is landmarks. So if you can see that down here. And to be totally fair, I'll come back to the landmark point in a minute, but to be totally fair, there is absolutely nothing wrong if you're just starting off with portrait studies and stuff like this gets you super frustrated. Import this image in and trace over it. For real. Because tracing gets a really weird rap. I mean, it is an absolute skill set to be able to look at something and properly transfer proportions down. But that's at, like, I'm a pro artist. I paint for a living, and it's hard for me to do. You know what I mean? So it's a skill. It's a skill just like any other. But don't be afraid to go in and literally trace a silhouette, trace a face, trace where the eyes are, trace where the eyebrow is. Because the more you do that, the more you're going to notice patterns. Like, oh, the eyes are one eye apart. And usually the eyebrow right here, if you go to where the eyebrow kind of ends at the tip and then move your way across, that's going to be the top of your ear. And see, same thing here. So you see where his eyebrow ends? And then if you come straight across, that's the top of the ear. It's not for everybody. Everybody's body is different. But if you have those type of rules in your head while you're working, it helps. But don't be afraid to trace. Like, do it. Like, Da Vinci traced. So if he can, you can. I give you permission. You know. So the thing is, I think is... Okay, so if this is... See, I'm not thinking about it correctly, I don't think. Ah, it's not wide enough. It's not wide enough. So, if I come over here and then like straight down. Kind of like that straight line right there. Because I'm looking at the straight, right? Straight. And then what you do is you dig into that straight line, and that's straight, and this goes past it. How far past it? You know what I mean? And don't worry if stuff doesn't look exactly the way you want it right up front. There's a saying that every piece of art has an ugly painting phase. For me, sketches are the ugly painting phase. It's or one of them. I actually have multiple. You can't be afraid to make ugly art, because that's on the path to make good art.
Heavy mop around. Then cleaning the mop when you're done, so it doesn't grow bacteria.
Something like that, maybe? And then, okay, so his lips are a little not as extended as his nose.
Swiffer wet.
So something like this.
Cleaner way to clean your floors.
Tyson, any Tizer snacks?
The word you are about to hear will sound different depending on what you're hungry for.
Something like that, right?
Did you hear?
It's a little better. I think actually
Crying out for honey barbecue.
that's close.
Tyson, any
I think it's a little high up, but that's a thing we can fix whenever we start getting
whether you're feeling or
Buffalo.
it's chicken in any flavor you're craving.
the values in.
Thanks for listening to Spotify. No, really. You could have listened to the radio. You could have spun some vinyl. You could have played a cassette tape. You could have listened to an 8-track tape. If you knew what an 8-track tape looked like. But you listened to Spotify. Thanks for that. And you still have hundreds more playlists to enjoy.
So this is closer. Still not correct, but because yeah, that is a very weird angle. So if we have something like this out there, and then because that straight line is actually where this eye is going to be right there. So yeah, something like that's a little better. That makes more sense. Bonk. Yeah. All right. We're getting closer. Not exactly right, but good enough to now go more forward with it. So we are going to erase that, erase that, erase those. Yeah. That feels better, right? So we got this. Right there. So that needs to be lower. Both of those need to be lower. Okay, the point of the eye triangle comes to like here. Like something like that, right? And then that's where the tip goes. All right. It's still not the right shape. I think this is actually close to correct. It's just since it's The nose, even on a silhouette, doesn't really have a line on it. That's a weird thing. Yeah, people think of the face in different features, but the face is one thing. Like, the function of the face is one solid entity. We got that. Like that. Another thing I've noticed is really putting the eyelid line is something that makes or breaks a likeness. It makes it look more like a person. That needs to be moved way back. So if I like the size of stuff, instead of erasing, I can actually just do that. Move. Something like this. And then maybe make it a little bigger. We can always... Yeah. So, see, it's a little more sketchy. It's not a realistic looking deal yet. But I will say, once we start getting these values in and start splashing kind of the highlights in there and some of those shadows, it's gonna look more realistic. It's almost like a magic trick how it happens. It's kind of crazy. So let me move that right there. All right. So what other shapes do we have? So we can actually do quite a bit. So like, that's what this is. Where the mouth is right there. What's going to be cool is we can do that rain. That rain's actually really easy to do. And you'll notice that I'm just doing really quick, super easy lines, because since these are more sketchy lines and they're smaller in width, it actually throws them to the background automatically, which is nice because they're less of a focus. Okay, and then like kind of that wheel of sorts. Okay. Actually, that comes way further over here, doesn't it? And then this. Right there, and then this one goes right there. Okay. We have something like this. So this is essentially the block in. Since there are a lot of hard light hits right here, this is another thing I could go in and sketch just to tell me later where to put some of those highlights. So like, and you'll see the highlights make a shape. If you just draw the shape, don't even worry about it being light or not. Just be like, hey, this is brighter, so I'm going to draw the shape almost like a little arrow. And same thing here. Really, these are nice because you can just come in and do that, and it works just the same. Just kind of a messy look, you know? Same thing here. You'll see this kind of wraps around and does little swivels and like Y shapes and things like that. So if you're a big fan of sketching or pen and ink, this is where you can actually start coming in and like cross-hatching your shadows while leaving your highlights alone. And it'll already start to give you form, which is really cool. So his hair, since it's a scalp, what we'll do is we will, since it's a short, kind of buzzed haircut, we're going to use a texture brush. That way you don't have to come in and, because I mean, you could come in and see how his hair, since it's hitting the light and some of it's raised up, some of it's not, some of it's on the scalp. You don't want to come in and like pinpoint, like that just takes too long. All we need to know in our mind is like, okay, this is information, this is texture. And that just tells you, use a texture brush, use something that has a little bit of grit, a little bit of charcoaly, you know, make the brush work for you. Let the tool do its job, and you'll be amazed at how much easier your life is. So now we're here. The face still is not right, but I kind of want to get past the sketching point because it's the least interesting point in my opinion. Also, it's probably why I'm not great at sketching, is I want to get out of this phase as soon as possible. So, but this is the type of thing I would send a client if they're like, hey, can you do a, could you make a painting of this picture? You know, I'm actually doing that with a family member's photo right now. I could send this to them and be like, you know, here's what we got so far. Here's a quick sketch. What do you think? The danger about sending something like this to a client, though, because I know for a fact the face does not look right. We don't have values in, the proportions are a little off. But if you were, like, here in a second, we are going to do our pass for values. Feel free to send them a value pass. Feel totally free. Because value is where you can start making light happen. And that's actually what we're going to do. So, okay, that's kind of the background layer and stuff like that. This is the general sketch layer. So I'm going to merge these two down together to make one line art layer. And I'm going to name it line art. And this is just to help me. Now, here's what I like to do. Any line art or like sketch layer that I work on, I actually go ahead and use a multiply layer. Now, the nice thing about digital art stuff, and I talk about this on my, well, actually on a lot of my YouTube stuff and on my premium tutorials, every major digital art program is going to have a lot of the same features. The multiply line art method is on everything. If it has a blending mode of layers and one of them is called multiply, you can do this. So take your line art, put it on multiply, and what that's going to do, it won't look like it did anything. But if we come in here and we make another layer in the middle, so now our line art is on top as your multiply layer. Now you're working on the layer underneath. Multiply, no matter what color you have chosen on your brush, whenever you start painting, your line art will show through. So I'll show you an example. So let's find the brush. Let's actually do... I really like the gouache brushes to block stuff in because it's watery, but it still has a little bit of opaqueness to it. So this is what we're looking at. Now we're just going to block in the... and let me actually rename this. We are going to name this values. So values, of course, is how light and dark things are. So we're at 50, our background right now is 50% gray. So now what my mind's doing is I'm looking at this, and this just comes with practice. Is it lighter or darker than 50% gray? That's all I worry about. And then, because I don't think of stuff like, well, there's his inner earlobe. Oh, this is the fur. This is his leather jacket. We're not there yet. That comes near the end when you render, because different textures catch light differently and are rendered differently. Now all I care about is what is light and what is dark. And you'll be amazed at how much progress we make just with some basic block-in stuff, having our line art, putting down basic values, not even rendered out shaped values, just like light versus dark. It comes alive. And that's kind of my favorite part, is whenever you start to see it and you're like, oh, this might actually turn out okay. It's really cool. So this is damn near white right here. This is really, really light. I'm not going to do pure white. I actually don't like using pure white or pure black, because what it does, I like muddy colors. I like colors that are very low saturated. I come from that realistic painting, Zorn palette, oil painting, traditional stuff. So that's what I kind of live and die by. But you can make some really light, really, really light things. So let's start here and see how much lighter that is comparatively. So if we just come up over here, do this,
skipping rope over 12,000 times in an
Cool.
hour.
So we got that. And now we'll see like this back wall, basically the same, right? So if we come back here, lower that a little bit, but you'll see
As much as you like.
the
When you tap the banner, go on, do it for Peter.
line art is still showing through. And that's exactly what we want, because this is just making sure we kind of quote unquote paint within the lines, you know? And then that's nice, because this will actually come over here, like another one of these. And don't worry if your lines aren't exact. If you're going for a traditional painting look, the more imperfect stuff is, in my opinion, the better it looks, because it has a handcrafted quality about it. Now these aren't the same exact value. This is actually a little darker, but I can still block it in as being light to kind of,
Favorite TV shows,
you know,
I've got a lot to
give me some information.
that I've been wanting to make a
So same thing
now I can with Anchor. Spotify's free
on the jacket. So the jacket, the main light source is going to be up here. So by the very nature of the way light works, this has to be the brightest part of the picture.
to download the
Everything else that gets the light
for free.
will share the value, but it won't be the same value. So some of these are really harsh highlights, but you'll notice the really super bright parts will essentially, they won't be brighter than your light source ever. So this is nice because now we have our light down. We can just color pick from it. So we're not going to go pure white. We're not going to do any of that. Now we have this. So we can go in if we want to quickly. And even though this is still a little light for what these refractions and the bounce light off this jacket is, it at least gives us something, some form of information to work from. And you remember that light shape that we drew earlier? Well, we have that. It's a good guide, right? So something like that, something like that. Also, the skin up here, and then his chin or his cheek is catching that. Maybe a little bit of the ear, but definitely back of here. And let's actually push that. Push that. So you're already seeing just adding the two little highlight spots is adding to the form of the face. We haven't even added any of the good stuff yet. We haven't added the stuff where it really brings it out. Let's see if I hit that. Because we know the light is coming from up here and pointing this way. That's how it's bouncing, right? So that's sort of what we have going on here. And now what we can do is we can come in and we can put the darkest darks in. And once again, I'm not going to use pitch black. I might at the very end, because if you look like here, even digitally, that's like super, super, super dark. Same thing here. This is ambient occlusion. This is where no light is hitting. The pure absence of light. So if we were to use pitch black, it would be in places like the opening of the jacket. But everything else is lighter, you know. So a good thing that I like to do is come down here and not go straight black. That way we can still push it a little darker if we need to. But it's not gonna box us in. Because if you have pure black or pure white, at least in the way I work, in my opinion, it makes everything all wonky. My values are off because I have the extremes, you know, and I don't want that. I want it to be kind of closer together. So we have something like this, and you'll see we still have our line art showing through, which is good because we're going to use that line art a little bit later. Let's see, we have this right here. Let's go a little bit lighter before we bring this in. I know this is too light, but the nice thing is you can always go back and change stuff. why pencils come with erasers, kids. So, you know what I mean? Like, and what you're also noticing, it looks like as you paint over it, this gets darker. The line art gets darker. That's because we're on the multiply layer. If we were to set this on the normal layer, it doesn't necessarily get darker. See, in some of these lighter colors, things like that, color burns, like overlays. So different people work different ways, but I really like that multiply layer because it's going to make sure that no matter what, I can see my line art, right? So, got that. Let's come back over here, make sure we're not on our line art. I was thinking I should probably lock my line art layer just to do it, but we're gonna do this. A little messy right here. A little messy, that's fine. Have that, and then we'll get a little bit darker even. A little bit darker. I'm still gonna push that darkness more, but what we're gonna do is block in the rest of this stuff. That way we have a good sense of how all the relationships are working together. Got that a little bit darker right here. A little bit of detail here. Right on the line. Not quite wide enough for here, we'll fix that. Then we'll take this darker color. I'm hitting the Alt button to color select. Gonna match that value. Now this one, that's a little dark for that. But once again, nice thing. Come in. And gouache is nice because it blends with whatever else is on there. Makes for a good deal. So same thing here. So skin tone is probably going to match closest to here. Oh, it's actually a little dark. Let's... There we go. Yeah, something like this is good. That way we can block this in. And then, yeah, this is where this will get a little darker. Perfect. Okay. And then what the real goal is something like that. Okay. So what the real goal is that if you were to disable this, the silhouette still reads okay. You know. So right now the line art's still doing a lot of work, but now this is where we get to come in and actually start rendering a little bit. So the first thing I want to do is actually start rendering the face. The face in the portrait is the most important part, always. You know, and so getting at least, if not a perfect likeness, something pretty close is actually fairly important. So if we're going to do values, let's do a new layer on top of the values and call this rendering 1. And I may put this up for free, this PSD file for free up on my Patreon. That way if you want to like examine it later. Let's see. I'm checking my Twitter. I'm getting a lot of notifications, which is cool. Very nice. Can't believe we're over 900 followers. That's nuts to me. Crazy. So here's what we're gonna do. First things first. we are going to get this. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? This is another really cool technique that I like to do. How do I want to do this? We can probably... Yeah. I'll show you a way that if I want to get real likeness and stuff like that, here's kind of what I do. So if I come over here, let me save this, save as, desktop. Let's do stream portrait 1. So I'll save that in this native file type, but now I'll export it as a PSD file. And we will open up Photoshop real quick. So we come over here, we do PSD file, export, stream portrait 1. Cool. All right. I'm gonna open Photoshop. I hope you guys are having a nice 2021. See, okay. So now we have Photoshop open. I'm going to select this, edit, copy, new, edit, paste. Okay, so see, it came in actually with the color on it, which is cool, because what I'm gonna do, let me actually hide this, so the mode always on top. I'll turn that off. That way we have this. Now I'm going to make this black and white. There is a black and white layer in photo, or a filter in Photoshop, but I never use it. The way I do it, I make a new layer, edit, fill this with either black or white. Then come over to the blending mode, put color. There you go. So we got that. Now we're also going to open our stream portrait. There it is. So we got that. What we're going to do is we are going to do this mode. We're going to arrange Photoshop to be 2 up vertical, and it puts them side by side. Now, something cool about that is now that I have this black and white image as my reference, what I can actually do is color pick from this to use in here, which is something I highly recommend, because this is the best way to get the best of both worlds. You're still using the part of your brain that has to do proportions and trying to make things fit almost like a puzzle, but you have the benefit of knowing that your value is correct. So it's this nice bridge of both things. So I'm gonna come over here, values. Yeah, let's go over new thing right here. Render pass 1. Now, let me load up my platinum sets. Hard round opacity. Now, got that. See, we weren't that far off, really. We were about a step off of our value that we picked by eye. So it's not too bad. And then like right here, that one was dead on. Cool. So once again, the more you do this, the more you can start seeing the values and be able to pick it on a grayscale. That's why I highly recommend working with grayscale for a long time, whenever you're doing studies and stuff, just because it's easier to learn and you're not kind of beating yourself up because stuff doesn't look quite right. You know what I mean? So we got something like this. Start getting some of these. Here, let me do the wet brush right there. So we're gonna hit here, bring this a little lighter because we want cheek, we want this. Here we go. So this is just your basic blocking. Another cool thing you can do, if you want to darken this up real quick, make reality happen a little bit. Right where the eyes are, the tear duct is, and like that cartilage right next to there, that's always going to be one of the darker parts of the face because light doesn't get in that little crevice very often. So you can do that. Now light does hit the eyelids, but as it goes away from the front part of the eyelid, it gets dark again. See? So something like that already adds believability to the face. Because you're just showing shapes, you're showing forms and the structure of it. So we got this. That cast shadow's coming down a little bit. These shadows are coming down. So that's a little bit of light, but the rest is shadow. Gotcha. Okay. So once again, I'm just looking at values and shapes more so than anything. Really the head doesn't look correct right now because of all the harsh lines. So I think you'll be kind of surprised whenever we get rid of these lines, how much that helps the believability. And that'll also allow us to really look at our profile, the profile part, and see where we're off. You know what I mean? See where our shapes are off. Something like that. So the likeness is already getting a little bit better now that we're adding the light to it, you know. Have something like this. So what we're going to do here, we're not going to erase anything on the line art layer because we want to keep the line art. So we're going to make a mask. And then all the parts of the line art that I don't want showing, I will paint black because that'll act like an eraser. So something like this, and especially up here, I don't need that showing. Come up over here. Those are fine. Don't need that one showing. Oh, my guy's face is a little long. That's okay. So already right there, that looks more realistic. Doesn't look, you know, exactly right, but it's closer just because our eye doesn't have that weird value contrast of pitch black line next to stuff that's supposed to be lighter. So we have that. Now we can come back to our render deal and actually hit this with a little bit more of that light. And you'll notice I color picked from our lightest areas just to kind of match that. And bring that in. Something like that. And then same thing here. So basically we're redrawing the part that had the line art, but we're doing it with white, or not white, but the lighter portion of what we got. Oh, I can already see his eyebrow's a little tall. That's okay. We can do that. And some of this light right here. Bring in here. We're gonna bring that in. We can always come back and smudge and smear and all that stuff, but like this is already looking a little better, you know? Bring some of that, getting hit with that light. So now we can actually come in, and the face is looking okay. I am of course going to come in and finalize it and stuff, but now I want to put some more value and some more kind of shape and form in the in this fur to really start selling that as a different texture. this. Boom, boom. And the same thing. We can come back up to this line art mask. Get rid of some of this. Because then through here, on this render pass, you can get your lightest light. Start doing this, and then actually do some negative shapes right here. Something like that. Line art. Get rid of some of these. There we go. So then as you like zoom out, that can start looking like the light is hitting right here. Of course, we're going to go in and we're really going to fine tune it and tweak it. But this is essentially the steps that I like to work in. And then you see how this kind of juts out a little more. So I'm going to color pick that. Do that. Just to give myself a baseline of where to come back to. Yeah. Then I can make this brush real small. I'm going to do the negative space thing, sketch it a little more. Come right here with the brightest. See. Then once you zoom out, yeah, just gives us a little bit of something to work with. But now we're back here on the jacket. Let's get the darkest portion. So it's not pitch black again, but it's fairly close. What are we at? Oh yeah, we're at like 89% pure black. So close, but not super pure black. Open this up again. Yeah, and that's a little too light under that, but this is good enough for kind of what we're looking at right now. Cool. We need that highlight. We need that to be closer to this color. Yeah. And we can come and we'll smudge these values kind of similar, you know. And boom. Get that shape in there. And then you'll notice where that light is hitting right here. Right next to it is that kind of darker horizontal line going through. So we're actually going to mimic that because that's going to help bring the point of that shape out even more. See, best thing is if you want to make something stick out, stick it next to something of the opposite value. It's like a checkerboard. In fact, it's called checkerboarding. Whenever you get some art feedback, it's like, hey, go ahead and try to checkerboard this. You're like, okay. Shorthand. Or fix your values. So we got this. Those. A few of these lines just to sort of have them. You can tell we're getting there. Now it's just about kind of coming through and hitting these specific areas. So used to my shortcut keys on other art programs where I hold down the middle mouse button and it acts the same way as spacebar. Ooh. Let's see. need that. Here we go. So kind of do something like this. And you'll see I'm actually doing these darker shapes right now. Just once again to start solidifying some of these forms. That way we can come back later and really fine tune them. About like that. That's a cast shadow. Something like that. That volume. Need that to be darker because we want that. Boop, 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 to be light and light.
How much burying are you seeing? Like, is it happening all the time?
All the time. Constant burying.
Squirrels can bury 10,000.
So yeah, this is really just a exercise in patience of just blocking your values to the best of your ability. Like we've talked about, you can always come back and edit and change and stuff like that, but just come in and look at some of these shapes. Try to mimic if it's a light or a dark shape.
They're following
and that's gonna get you to a pretty good place in regards to
Mexican spices will not let you get away. So there's
in regards to likeness and in regards to having a piece feel like it's coming from the same reference.
Head to Taco Bell and silence your cravings before nacho fries disappear again. Only at Taco Bell, at participating U.S. locations for a limited time only.
A little darker there. And see, once again, a good example of that checkerboarding is right here. You see how it goes from dark to getting that highlight from the sleeve and then back to dark again? That's what we're going to be mimicking here. Is we're going to make sure we have that nice separation of that highlight, because that's going to be the thing that tells us that now we're looking at a different form, we're looking at a different plane, a different shape. Because your goal is you want it to read from a long ways away. You want this to be able to look like something at that size, you know. You tell like, oh, it looks like someone's wearing something, like someone's looking over here and they're wearing something. Because the better it reads small, it's going to read even better big. Got something like this. And you'll see there's no exact, I'm not trying to like super stay within the lines and worry about all that stuff. Is, like I said, you can make mistakes, quote unquote mistakes, and it actually adds to it because that's your voice you're adding, you know. I think it was Neil Gaiman said style is the mistakes we make, and I agree with that. It's a pretty smart guy. We're gonna you'll see it kind of sketch out with a paintbrush a little more too, just to really start driving some points home in regards to the forms and the shapes and stuff like that. You'll notice that it doesn't follow the exact sketch line I had made earlier, but like I said, those were just there as more of a roadmap to help me get on my way. That looks like, what angle is this part of the jacket on? Oh, okay, well, the angle's right. It's just I need to kick this out a little more. That bigger. There we go. Something like that. Yeah, that's fine. Come in with some more confident, symmetrical, geometric shapes. in regards to some of this. That way it's going to read really clean. And then we can come back in here in a bit and make it all painterly. Same thing here. Let's see, let's actually color that. Get rid of those. So yeah, it's looking good. Now I wonder if I'm at the part to where I'm going to start coming in with texture brushes and make that happen, you know. I think so. Render pass 1. Let's do a new layer. And then, yeah, because now look, if we turn off the line art now, check this out. Check out this side. You turn off the line art now, it still reads pretty well. You can tell that this is kind of fur. This is this right here. The face has essentially the right structure. We need to go refine it, of course, but it's all about the rendering. It's all about making sure your values are right. And then edge control, which we'll do a little bit later. Edges are interesting because they kind of make or break materials and focal points. So I actually made a piece last night to where I kind of played around with that. I was like, okay, let me just make something with a super soft brush in the background and not refine it at all. And it's nice because what it mimicked is depth of field for a camera lens. Like the camera was focused on this and then everything else was blurry. That's a quick way to do that. And in fact, that's probably what I'll do here. And what I mean by that is I will keep this stuff. I might not even do another pass of the background. I may just leave it like this. It's really basic and really, you know, it's hardly there, but sometimes less is more, because once we, you know, like we said, the focal point is not the background. The focal point is our person, our duder. So we got him. Then, so yeah, what we'll do now we'll start getting into the texture brushes, coming in and actually start sculpting. I call it sculpting. What it is it's really refining the shapes to match what our reference shows. Now, whenever you're working from imagination, this part is maybe one of the more tricky parts because you don't have a reference to go off of. I mean, you do because you have, hopefully you do, but like you're not doing a one-to-one study, you know? Like your job as that type of artist is to create something that has never been seen before, which, you know, it's really hard. But the smart way to do it is, let's say I was doing a Warhammer piece, but then the general, for whatever reason, if it was like Imperial Guard, if the general had a fancy jacket, but then since it was like a winter assault, they had a big fur deal right here, this would be a great reference for that, because now I can see, oh, this jacket has the collar and then the fur on top. And that's that type of info you would take from it. But I digress. But anyway, working from reference is critical, just at all. What's up, Crow? Good to see you, brother. Yeah, man, we're just doing some portrait stuff, handing out tips and tricks. Hope you're doing well. Hope your New Year's went well. 2021's already been crazy. but yeah, we're just here painting along, listening to some Warcraft soundtrack. Let's see. So I'm looking at my brushes. What texture brush do I want? I think I kind of want my oil water mix, because this allows for some really cool blends, and in this leather, I think that's going to go a long way. So what I'll do here, and what this oil water brush does, is it does half and half. So it does half foreground, half background as far as your colors. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to black and white it so it comes out gray depending on how hard I press. So this is a new layer right here, and let's say I'm coming right here. You're going to see that texture work, and then I can even, in fact, what I'll do, I'll make this my darkest dark, and and then I'll make this my lightest light. That way I'm still within my same values and I don't go overboard with it. So we have this, something slick, something easy. Mix those up together. And you'll see that I have the line art hidden now. I don't, at this point, I don't necessarily need the line art anymore. I can pop it back on in case we do need it, but I don't think I will. Because we have enough of a quick, you know, putting this back in that this tells us everything we need, really, you know. So, but now you'll see we get this texture brush stuff in here. We can hit this. So we'll do this for kind of the blendy sort of stuff that we got going on. Almost like an underpainting, I guess. So, and this is actually kind of a big deal because this is going to get darker right here. So that's a shadow. Do that. What's nice is this oil water mix brush mixes with itself. So if it sees the information on the same layer, it like smears it around and does that stuff. It's pretty cool. I like it quite a bit because it gives me some textures and some movements and stuff that I wouldn't normally think of, which is nice. It's always nice to have a brush do the work for you. Actually, I'm not going to do a lot of... Actually, his hair might be a perfect place to do this. Can I get that spatter in there a little bit? That, yeah, it is a little bit lighter around here. And as it gets further back, it darkens up a little bit on us. Yeah, something like that's okay. We're going to refine that a little bit, but that at least gives us... Actually... That at least gives us some information to work with. So now what we'll do, let me get my platinum brush. This is probably my favorite brush in the pack. And yeah, go ahead and do that. Let's get this. So we got like, boom. So this is really where piece starts coming alive, because you really start rendering out. If that comes straight down, actually, yeah, his, and right there, boom. I love this brush because it has a little bit of grit to it, but not enough to overwhelm. So it's great for like little sketches and things like this, where you want to have a little bit of intrigue, but you don't want it to be overwhelming. Like that. Yeah. Yeah. Do that. Okay. There we go. And then we're going to do a really cool method on the John Singer Sargent study. I'm going to do that. You can see how these shapes are already starting to... these shapes are already starting to do some cool stuff.
I absolutely
and we're not really concerned with it looking photoreal, you know. That's why it's so nice that the brushes can kind of help us get some definition without relying on realism. Because you know, I don't necessarily like painting realism. I like painting believability, and there's a big difference. I try to tell that to some of my students too, is like, you know, no matter what your end goal is, no matter what type of art you want to make, studying from like life helps. It just does. because it gives you an understanding of the world, and it allows your creative work and your more imaginative stuff and stuff that's fantasy or science fiction or whatever, or even like anime or manga or kind of whatever you're into. It gives it more of a bite because it's more believable and people can understand it easier. And like art that you can understand easy, or like you can read it and kind of get what it's trying to say, in this line of work is kind of the thing you need to do. You need to get across, you know, and I'm speaking as an illustrator, but also like this works in concept designs and stuff like that, like the stuff I did for Adidas, and you need to get your point across. Like, what are you trying to say? You know, and being able to have your work look believable helps with that quite a bit. So, if we have something like that, so this is still, okay. Okay, so that's there. This is coming up over here. Boom, boom, boom. Cool. All right. This is helping. Yeah, this is kind of helping us out. Now we kind of move down here. And I think once we really start refining this part of it, this jacket's really going to start coming alive, you know. I think that this is a cool place to really make it start working for us. Actually, let me... Oh, interesting. Okay. So now I'm noticing that this highlight is actually quite a bit darker than this, which is where the actual background light is coming in. So we're going to hit this like that. There we go. And then we're actually going to darken this up just a little bit. And that should sell that a little better too. Okay. Got that. That, where are we at? We are... Okay, there we go. Just needed that line. And then boom, boom, boom. Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. Now we can start getting to the fun of doing little swiggles and boop, boop. Kind of do like a little snake. You see that? Sort of that snake shape. Bamp, 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 bamp. And a lot of people think that whenever you're doing portraits or whenever you're doing studies or any sort of art, that, oh, artists, for whatever reason, they look at things way more, you know, complex and they can see details and stuff. And I don't think that's necessarily true. In my opinion, it's more effective to think more simply. Like, take away a lot of the busy work. Take away a lot of it. Because you'll notice, I haven't talked about the background since we put this in. And I don't think we're going to do the background. Like, oh, look at that. We're going to do the rain. I think the rain's pretty cool, and we're actually going to add a little bit to it, make some of that rain come off of his jacket and things like that. But overall, I think that... oh, this is a building and this looks like a shop and there's probably stuff back here. Is that a person, or what kind of door is this? And look at this. Is this a well? None of that matter. I don't care. Like, I don't care, because that's not what I'm focused on. I'm focused on having the portrait and having this attitude, having this sort of the vibe that this is giving off. I want to capture that vibe. That's the only thing I care about. And then, so we're coming in here and you'll see this, we have a little bit more shape and a little bit more rendering on this jacket done, but we're still not to where we kind of want to be on it, which is fine. Rendering takes a long time. It just takes a while. And it's one of those things that, like, you can get as exact as you want. You can grid this out. You can, well, that fold is here. But once again, I don't care about realism. I care about believability. So does this look like a leather jacket? In my opinion, not quite. It doesn't quite look leather. So we're going to keep working at it. But does it need to look exactly like this? No. In my opinion, no. It just does. I mean, just simplify it. You know, it's shiny. It's the light is bouncing and refracting and reflecting off. So that's all the info I need. Leather jacket, bounces light. Done. So let me come back here. Let me kind of sketch that line in. I also like this brush quite a bit because it can act like a charcoal pencil. It has a little bit of grit on it, and I don't know. I like it. That's why I called it the platinum brush. It's like, it's a rock star brush. This thing's an MVP, man. And what's funny is you see this, and just that little additional line added a lot of different personality to what this color looks like. Here, it's very smooth. You have a little bit of texture here from that porousness of the leather. But here, we have the charcoal lines. We have all this stuff right here. I'm probably going to come and blend some of these edges to blend it together. But I kind of dig what we have right here. It's different. It's a little different than what we got going on. So really what I'm looking at now, let me zoom this out, and then let me do this. So the lightness, of course, isn't quite there, but we're getting the same attitude. And I like that. That's kind of what we got going on. I need to do his torso part of the jacket, I think. I think that's going to be a thing that's going to help us quite a bit. Then I might actually take care of this wall. Because the wall is going to be easy. We're just going to get kind of a grunge brush and just paint over it 3 or 4 times in a straight line. And that should get us what we need. I just want to make sure that we get a little bit of that porous nature right here. And then we have that light, that kind of line coming down here on the wall. That will kind of do that. So yeah, let's wrap up this jacket for right now. We'll come back to it. Something tells me. We got this. Got that. Okay. So now I'm going to make this brush a little bigger so I don't need as many strokes. I'm going to come over here. Get this. Hit there. Hit there. Okay. Got this. Okay. And that's the pocket working that way. And then this will be right there. Yeah. That's going to help us a little bit. Got this. And you see how we've had that super sharp edge. I actually want to keep that sharp edge. I think it's a good thing to have. It looks like the pocket's not quite, it's either this is too long, the inside of that jacket's too long out, or the pocket's not the right size. It's probably both, actually. And then whenever you combine both of those being wrong, it looks really wrong. But I'm not really too worried about it. It's just something to notice, you know? Because it's fine to keep stuff if it's wrong. It's totally fine. We're not in it to, you know, reinvent the wheel. So let's come over here. Keep some of that, kind of that nice scratchiness. Like that, cool. Cool. Okay. Just some detail. So now all that I'm looking at really is like, where's detail? And then what I can actually do here, and this really helps, is use this line to contour out a shape. And that way the eye follows it, and it looks like the fold in the leather. Oh yeah, and then that one's pretty sharp, so like something like that. So now you have these differences of angles and stuff. So now it's starting to look a little bit more like a fold. It's still harsh edged, so it doesn't quite look like a fold, because a fold is a soft change in position of a contour. So what we'll do, probably the last render pass, once we add color and stuff to this, we'll go out and smooth out some of those to really make it look like a one piece, or, you know, torso, arm piece leather jacket. Okay, so this time we are gonna do the wall, and we're gonna do a nice little, I call it a cheat, it's not really a cheat, but to make sure that we get a straight up and down wall, I'm actually gonna make a marquee selection and then just paint within it. It's an easy thing, it's cheap, it's easy. Use the tools at your disposal. You do not need to reinvent the wheel. There we go. So we're gonna do this. Let me get my, let's do a Greg Rukowski brush. That way we can, bam, do something like this. Get that. Perfect. Bring that up there. Cool. Well, much, but we get the idea. So yeah, this is just a general random brush. Now if I want a little bit more control over this, I am gonna do something like that. That's still a little dark, actually. So come over here. And see, just having the weird edges all go back and forth and kind of counteract with each other, that's adding that porous texture of a wall. You know what I mean? So we got that. Now let's bring in an oil brush and kind of mix in. You see where his arm right here kind of blends into that shadow on the wall, and where he's leaning against it. We're going to do that same thing. All right. Well, we're going to do it on the inside of this. Actually, let me get that. Gotcha. Got that. That's cool. All right. Right there. Some basic oils. Cool. Cool. Kind of blend that out. See how that kind of soft cast shadow. All right. Cool. Something like that. Easy peasy. So now what we're actually going to do is make that line. You see where that highlight line is, where the wall is, where the edge is? We're going to do that by selecting the light, and then come in here on the edge right up until it gets, right up until it gets to his jacket. Kind of goes straight up, right? So what we're going to do, we're going to come in here up until his jacket. Let's get us a circle oil brush. There we go. Make it a little easier to, yeah. I'm just going across, I'm overlapping the I'm overlapping the wall just a little bit. Not much, but just enough for that edge to go. Now what I'm going to do to get this other part, because see how this gray area kind of sticks out from that wall, but there's no gray area like that here. Really quick thing, since I have a selection, I can go to select inverse. Now everything that's not the wall is selected. And color pick this, color right here. Bam, you have your hard edge. Done and done. Same thing. So, yeah, there you go. Got your hard edge, all done with that. So that is the wall. Easy peasy. All right, now let me save. Now we're gonna do the face. Because I think this is actually, I think after we get done with the face, I think we're done, essentially. As far as that, and then we can just add that color in, and then kind of blend it all together and be good. So yeah, we'll take a look at our process so far. So we had our line art, and see what's nice is you add that line art back in, and it gives it a whole different vibe again. See what I mean? And then you even look at the leather jacket and stuff, and the leather jacket looks different. It's pretty neat. Like, so you really get control over what type of vibe you want just by how you handle your lines. Because, you know, doing it with line, you're definitely going to get that more illustrated look, comic book, where lines are pretty critical. But if you want more of that Magic the Gathering, Warhammer look, you know, of course, use lines as a guide, but then get rid of them. Get rid of them and then render your edges. And then you're going to get more of that traditional painting look, really. So, this is where it's going to be cool. We're going to have some fun here. I'm going to call this face render. Face render. Okay. All right. Now, with a face, we are not going to use a lot of textured brushes at the first, because we want to make sure we get those lines and the structure right. Now, like I said, we could turn the line art back on where we have some of those lines in that structure. In fact, I might actually do that and keep some of these lines. Well, we'll see. Because that's a nice thing about having a layer mask on it. You can always erase it, and the data's still there, but it's just not visible. So, doing something like that, we can kind of have a quick see of what we're looking at. So the eye is very important. The cheek is actually pretty important too. And I have too much highlight there. I need to actually bring that up a little. Highlights on the forehead, that's fine, but I can make it a little more. It has to roll into the shadows. Like, faces and heads are one big oval, so you wanna render it the same way you would render like a sphere. Kind of soft contour lines, except if you have harsh lighting with a nose, because that nose is a thing that causes a cast shadow. It puts that shadow across the face, and you want to make sure you render that out pretty well. But yeah, overall, I'm feeling okay with where it's at. It's standard study, you know. So we got this, we got face render. We are going to come in here. We are going to do the hard round opacity. Make this a little smaller. We're going to turn off that, because what I'm hoping is I'm going to render, and then whenever we turn the line art back on, it's going to be like a magic trick. It's going to be like, oh man, that looks way better. So what I have to do here is actually grab some of these values and just start bringing in the more intricate shapes of like the ear, the earlobe, the eye socket, the bridge of the nose, the nostrils, because that's where likeness is the proportion of features across the board. Kind of doing this, and that kicks out right here. And this is just with a basic hard round brush. If you ever like sketching, or you're ever at this part of an image, hard round brush, pretty good, man. Like, you don't need crazy gimmick brushes. You don't need that stuff. I mean, they're nice to have and they're really cool, but like a good hard round brush and a decent reference can get you a long way. Not to say that brushes don't matter, because they absolutely do. Absolutely do, but you want like the utmost control, you know what I mean? Like this gotcha. This is here for you. Yeah, something like that. And then you get a little bit lighter, because you see where that, what is this part? I'm bad, but I know how to paint faces and anatomy and stuff, but like I don't know the names of things. So whatever this little tiny, the ridge, it kind of goes into the, not where you get your ear pierced, but the part on the, this part, this little doohickey right here. What is that? That's always going to catch a little bit of light. So you can grab this little light color, and then what you're going to do is kind of bring that in and see what that does is it shows the form of the ear, that this is catching light, but then it has a recess that goes in wherever you get in your eardrum and your actual ear canal. I don't know no anatomy, man. I never had to take anatomy in college. Thank God. I would have failed that. That's a hard class, man. Anatomy? Pfft, dang. Now, if I were a better artist, I would know all the body parts and the names and how to render it out and all that stuff, but like, I ain't got time for that. Thankfully, my clients want like gothic art to where the bodies are decayed, or, so I have a little wiggle room when it comes to that. But I just think it's real fun. Like, to me, whether or not you make it as a pro artist is how much do you love the process. Like, I've done a lot of different careers in my life, but like, I could do this stuff, like looking at a reference, doing that, trying to nail what the shape of the ear is. This is the fun part for me. Like, I love it if people love my art, and like, I'm so beyond thrilled that like places like Adidas and Warhammer and all of them, my dog's going crazy again, that they love my art and the way that I interpret the world enough that they want to like hire me. But that's almost secondary. It's like, as an artist, your job is to love this part. Like, do you love the grind? Do you love getting better, understanding more of the world around you? Because if you have patience for this, you have patience for anything. That's the real ticket in success, in my opinion. Just love this part, and you're going to go a long way. So you have something like that, but then you'll see his eyelashes. See, and once again, I'm literally just drawing line art again at this point. But that's what makes it work. That's what makes this function the way we need it to. And then you'll notice that kind of cut within here, like here, where it's kind of that triangle of light. So we're going to do that, because that once again adds more to the form of the eye, because your eye is a ball set inside of a socket. So you need to think of it like a little sphere within a bigger sphere. So, like, this is in fact, we'll do that right now. Let me come up here. You have this circle, so you have your eyeball right here. Oh, so you have your eyeball, like, right here. But then you have the socket that it sits in, and the part of the skull,
I just want to take a few moments of your time,
which is like this.
This year has been heavy.
See, and that's another thing you can do that's really cool and really fun, is draw over portraits and make it a skeleton.
Right now on Spotify.
You know, so if you have something like that, you know, you have this, but then that's gonna barely come out right here, and that's gonna be a little bit of something like that. And you see where the socket actually comes in right here, and that flares out.
Magic begin. Join in and sing along.
And then that's going to come in. Actually, that's going to be closer, in fact.
Nap time and more.
So you know what I mean? Like, this is a good way to learn that structure of what the skull actually looks like.
Listen on Spotify.
Have something like that. Then you have these. You have that. The teeth are going to be right here, but that's because this jaw. And then you have see what I mean? So doing that structure, learning the parts of the skull and things like that. I know it seems boring in art class or whatever, but like, it's critical stuff, man. Like, because if you can do that, if you can break every piece down in that way, there's no limit to what you can draw. There's no limit to the type of art you can create. Just need to see the world around you for what it is. A bunch of shapes and light and the way our eye looks at stuff. And that. Me. Well, see, and that's straight black, but that's actually kind of fine. Here, I'll make it a little less. A little black right there. There we go. So getting some of these lines in of, see, it's still a little tall, but getting these value shifts in really help with likeness, but they also, once again, help give form to the face. So we got this. So that. That's going to catch the light, of course. Cool. All right. So it's funny, as we render it out, it just automatically starts looking more realistic. And I think that's, and you'll notice we're just using the hard round brush and we're doing slight little variances and slight little touches. But that's kind of the magic of it, is don't overcomplicate it. Just kind of paint what you see. Not what you think you see, but what you actually see. And see, like here, I need to kind of blend these values together. This might actually be, no, I think that's the right value. Yeah, I think it's just messing with my mind because the textures are still kind of blotchy. So once I smooth it out, that should help some of that, I think. Where are we at now? Okay, yeah, I see it. I see it. Boom. The good news about my internet being hardwired now is I'll be able to do streams way more often, probably multiple times a week, if there's interest, you know. If not, then there we go. And no worries, you know, but it's just fun to do, you know, fun to hang out and talk shop. And oh, I see, that actually does come up a little bit, so I'm gonna make that, see that kind of like hoop right here, kind of do that same thing. So really, and I know I've had questions about it before, about people are like, well, what part do you know to like look at to really render it in and really dig in? It's more about shapes. What is showing a separation of forms? So like the reason why that little hoop right there is something I want to fixate on is that hoop is breaking apart his non-camera facing eye. You see what I mean? Like, cause he has a little bit of that, the eyelash and stuff right here. So it's important that I get that separation to be able to give the viewer more information. Now I can do that, and I can actually come in to see there's that little bit that comes down right there. I'm gonna do that same thing. I'm gonna do a little bit right there. And something else you're gonna notice if I get that, this, where eyes really like thrive. See that little fix right there? Where eyes really thrive is in the glint. The glint of light hitting an eye gives it life. A perfect example of that, if you ever watched the movie The Thing, you know, the Kurt Russell movie, awesome movie. The people that are infected with the virus do not have pin lights in their eye. That's what they're called, as a pin light. But they do not have lights in their eye at all, so their eyes look dead. But whenever you add that little glint of light in there, it brings life to it. And see, you can see mine doesn't have that yet. But if I were to come in here, if I were to match this light right here and come in and do that, and then you zoom out, you can tell where he's looking. It's a neat, like, and it's funny how our brains process a dot, like a dot of light surrounded by the darkness of an eye. Like, that's crazy, you know? So we're gonna come in here. Really, where lightness comes from, in my opinion, looks from the nose and the mouth. So that's going to be something I'm probably going to struggle a little bit, because that's where the relationship between the nose and the mouth is still something that I struggle with, because everybody's is slightly different. That's what gives lightness, though, is like that has to be the part that's pretty well set in stone, has to look right. So if I come over here and kind of hit there, like that, and that's darker, right? It's darker. It's a little too dark, I think, but we'll smooth it out. Once again, we'll smooth it out. And that's nice. That nice straight edge kind of helps with that. So we'll do this, we'll do this, we'll come in. Got that dark part. Got this right here under there. A little too dark though. That's what I want. Then yeah, I don't think that's quite tall enough. Don't think that's quite tall enough, but it gets us going. Gets us going. So you got that. Then you're gonna, that very top part of that lip catches that light. And see, that already gives a more structured, form-based view of the face, which I dig, because that's awesome. Okay. Match that color. In here. And what's nice about that is there's this nice lost edge to where the light of the nose and the light of the background are the same value. So you can just get rid of the edge. You know what I mean? And then if you zoom out, it still looks correct. Like your brain fills in that gap because of this dark part coming up to meet where that line, that imaginary line at this point would intersect. Now those two meet and your brain fills in the gap. So that's another thing about being an artist is like, you got to learn those magic tricks where the, let people's brains do the work for you. Like, they can fill in the gaps, literally, because that's what our human brain is made to do. We're made to notice patterns, look at shapes. So if you just go by those rules, you're in a safe, like, you're doing well. Okay. Something like that. So there's a slight variance here. I'm seeing a slight little line back where we see our kind of right here, you know, where we see that eye socket. I see a slight little line right here, but it also goes a little darker first. So like, I'm gonna extend that shape out, and then I'm gonna get that light color and hit there. Now it's almost so small you can't even notice it, but it helps. It adds up, you know. All right, I think I'm actually getting close to the point to where we can actually start like blending edges.
But with the multiplier scratch tickets from the Texas Lottery, I can,
which is a really cool spot because that's where the painting really comes alive, in my opinion.
up to $1 million.
When you're blending edges.
For 2 multiplier scratch tickets. Wink, wink. Ah, I got you.
With that, that comes over here. And see, this is actually going to
play responsibly. You kind of like this guy, but when you can't decide between the Filet-O-Fish or the Big Mac, and he says,
I'll get you both. There you go. Something like this. This angle is actually coming down. That's a little darker right here.
Don't let sniffles, sneezes, and scratchy
Oh, it's too dark. There we go. Something like that. Then that same.
Visit cvs.com/weekly ad for details. CVS.
Yeah, this is where. Oh, I see. Okay. I need this to be a little bigger. There we go. Too light. So remember, we're still in the value phase. We haven't even thought about color yet. which is fine, you know. I mean, that's literally the next thing we're going to do. We're going to add the color in, then we're going to go in and take care of the edges, and then we should be done. And that'll be a good little art stream, a nice little comeback. We've already been live for over 2 hours, so a little over 2 hours. So should be good. We do that. Come here. Nope, too dark. Cool. That. And see, same thing here. I want to make this a little bit sharper of an edge, because that's going to be our focus. You know, his likeness is going to be our focal point. So, do that. There we go. Something like that. And then you zoom out. And that's starting to look like a person. You know, we got it there. So really, it's that contour shape of where his cheek falls into the shadow that I'm most interested in right now. Kind of doing this, and you'll see what I'm doing now is I'm kind of blotching. I'm using a hard round brush, and I'm just kind of lightly almost washing my hand across it. And what that's doing is that's a way to kind of stipple effect a transition between a darker and a lighter. But I'm actually going to come in maybe with a mixer brush, with a wet mixer brush, and come in and really blend this. Yeah, so like this, and then that. And then really what is going to help is whenever we come over this with a super light fur again, it's going to knock that out. So I got something like that, yeah. You know, and I'll actually, I think later, a little later this year, probably in the next month or so, I'm going to be creating a premium tutorial about portraits, where we take it from beginning to end in real time, the whole thing. So kind of like this, only it's going to take probably 3 times longer, because we're going to do it full on, like make it ready to send to a publisher for a book cover or something like that. Like it's going to be a full blast of kind of every trick in the book that we know to make it look professional grade. See, these are just studies. These are just a nice way to kind of relax and get a feel for a subject, and that angle's not right. And then that, and this actually, okay, comes over here. Move that out a little bit more. Okay, there we go. Something like that's good. There we go. Make that lighter just enough. Just enough. Okay. So we have this. If we turn back on the line art, it's nice now because we have such subtlety in the value shifts and stuff that now the line art is just overbearing. But if you just take away that line art again, that looks more realistic. You know what I mean? So here's what we'll do. I will come in. That's a weird tangent, so I'm going to get rid of that tangent. A tangent is like an optical illusion of where you can see lines where there shouldn't be any, or lines are overlapping, or something like that. So now it's like to get rid of that tangent, just come over. There we go. Now his whole head is in the foreground, as it were, right? We got that. We got that. Yeah, now I think we're ready for color. So I'm gonna do color in a brand new way today. Normally I either do a color layer or a multiply layer to add hues in there and color shifts and stuff. But I saw someone do this, just do a normal layer, but at a very low opacity. And I think that's a really good idea. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to hit there, color, pass. I'm going to bring this opacity down to 30%. And we can crank with it, you know, yeah, we'll do 30%. Now we're going to come over here. We're going to get rid of that. That's cool. Okay. And then we're going to be able to color pick from here. This will be a nice thing. We can always gauge it. And I have a whole lesson about color picking and how do you pick colors from values and all that stuff. But so for ease of access, we're just going to color pick from here. So I'm going to hold Alt, hit that. So then here, and the nice thing is that keeps the values intact as well. And you'll see that's just a nice way to add that. So then if I come over here and enrich that, and then I come over here and enrich it even more once we start getting into the shadows. Yeah, that's a nice way to add color. Holy crap. How did I not know about this sooner? So there's something like this. Have that. Let's bring that in. Bring that saturation in. And see, this is nice because it's not super overbearing. We're just slowly introducing... Oh, wait. View. I do not need... Where's guides? View. Rulers, extras, no. Rulers, no. Wait, show. Yeah, don't need guides. That's fine. So then we will get that color. Yeah, this is actually a super nice natural way to get basic color blocks in there without it changing values a lot. I like this quite a bit. Okay. Yeah, that's like a way more natural feel for skin tone, in my opinion. Yeah. This works pretty well. I like that quite a bit. So we'll do more color around the nose, the mouth, and the eyes. This T-shape right here is where a majority of your more like reddish colors, because this is where all the blood flow in your face is. And usually under your mouth, like where a beard would be for a guy, that's going to be cooler. And then up here is going to be a little more neutral, actually a little cooler as well, but more kind of the grays and stuff. So as we see here, see how that's kind of like a gray color? And then here we definitely get that nicer reddish hue of that. So we get that. Yeah, that's more red. More red. More red. So let's bring in some more saturation on the color. Yeah, that's looking good. That's looking cool. I like that. Yeah, wow, that's amazing at how much easier that makes that. And then here, of course, you almost get like a green, yeah, almost like a cyan color. So we're gonna hit that. We're gonna hit the whole jacket with that. And then what we'll do here, get that. There we go. Yeah, this is a really good way to I really like this because this is just with a hard round brush, and I feel like I could get some cool blends if I start using my like Greg Rukowski brushes and my mixer brush this way. That's neat. Like that feels way more natural too, you know? I'm gonna do this, gonna hit this right here. And now this is where it's gonna be kind of cool doing the background, is you get this brownish color. You come right here. You can kind of get this gray right here. Something like that. That color right here. Then kind of that yellowy, really subtle changes, you know. And then here, here's that. There you go. Yeah. Like that. Cool. All right. So we're we'll hit this area around where some of these lights are. So we're at a pretty good spot here. We're at a pretty good spot I feel pretty comfortable with. Looking good. Now his face is darker. I think my value's kind of off. But oh, okay, do that. We'll grab that color. Let's
Charmin, we heard you shouldn't talk about going to the bathroom in public, so we decided to sing about it.
Yeah, red, 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 red. Cool. So that's actually, we need to darken that a little bit. Yeah. That way it still stays within that value, but we have a good looking kind of skin tone there, you know? There we go. Yeah.
I am the great genie. You have one wish.
Wait,
okay.
Just one? But with the multiplier scratch tickets from the Texas Lottery,
now, the real secret, and this is kind of a secret sauce type deal.
How about you?
We got this. Let's go to select all. We are going to edit, copy, merged. So everything we see is going to be on one layer. And then let me actually make a folder. I call this setup. And let me go edit, paste. Let me move this layer outside of this folder. And everything under here, even the background, I need to unlock it first. Everything under here, I select it all. I'm going to drag it into the setup folder. Now that's all of our stuff. If we need to go back and tweak anything, we have that. The clients love this because if I need to go back and change something fundamental, instead of working and trying to re-render and paint and stuff, I'll just undo steps. I'll go backwards to like the line art layer or whatever, and then work and make those changes that way. But here, now this is a full look at what we have. Now this is where we're going to actually come in, do some selected color picking, use some texture brushes, and really make this pop, and then we'll be all done. So let's get here. Let's go edit duplicate layer. So now anything we do up here, we can always undo it by hiding that layer. So what is actually kind of neat is let's come here. Let's come here. Let's get some like a canvas texture brush. And then let's grab that color. And now you're gonna notice just how bright it is compared to what we have as far as values. So we have this. So you have that right there. That right there. Perfect. Got that. And see how now that canvas brush is coming in. It's going a little bit over, but that's okay. Same thing here. Let's do this. Let's do a chalk brush. Bring that in. Bring that in. So you see, we're still using what we already have, but now it's almost like it's another roadmap. It's a thing that we're using, coming in and doing stuff by actually selecting the colors, coming in and making this a little bit different. So kind of come in and do that too. Yeah. Cool. Got that, got that. So you'll notice this is where it gets really painterly because of just the looseness of kind of our brush strokes and things like that. So, which is good. That's sort of what we want. You know, we want this to look like a painting rather than a photograph. So we got like that right here. And you'll notice a lot of this rendering, I'm actually undoing the rendering. And that's, in my opinion, that's actually kind of important. Because once again, I'm not a painter that goes after a perfect one-for-one pixel representation of what I'm looking at. I like to get the attitude of it. I like to get the fun of it. And then kind of let the rest take care of itself. So now we're going to come over here. Going to get this yellow. I'll pop that yellow in. And see how these subtle hits of like heavier saturation really start making this thing come alive? Like, that's amazing. This is probably one of my favorite parts of doing a portrait, is like seeing it really start to work. And then what I'll do actually here, I will grab this. I will get a soft round brush. You know how we talked about doing this? And then I'm going to grab that kind of greenish color and then kind of go over some of these lines that we already made. Because this is where a lot of that interest is going to be for the folds and all that stuff. So we got this, got a little bit of that. Oh, that's a little bit too light, but if we crank that down a little, we still get that nice green cyan color, but it's in the shadows now. You see. So then we'll even get a little bit lower. We'll pop that up a little bit. We'll smooth brush this in. And see, we now have color on here, but it's not overwhelming. It's not super overwhelming. There we go. And I brush some of these edges in. Cool. Another soft light. Let's do this on this edge, just to kind of take some of that focus away. You see? We can do the same thing here. Sure. Do that. And then we'll grab this and just start coming in with our brush right there. Same thing here. Cool. Looking good, soft. So that light is actually hitting right here. Now we're going to come in for this final render to where we get some harsh brushes, come in, make that fur look good, hit some of that face with the highlights, come in, get some really harsh value changes, and then we're all done, man. Feel pretty good about this one. So we're going to come here. I'm going to get my platinum brush. I'm going to get that. You're going to come over here. We're going to sketch some of that out. You see that right here. We got this. Same thing. It's going to separate some of these values. There we go. Something like that. You see, so I'm making that shape a little bit more pronounced. We're going to get that nice white right here, or like close to it. And we're also going to hit there. That's that nice rim light. We're going to do, come back, texture some of that in. Now, this is where we pick this. We do soft round. Kind of hit this with that soft round real quick. Kind of come to that. And then to really sell it, we get that mid-tone. Got that tone right there. Kind of start blending these kind of into one another. And see, it looks a little shoddy right now because it's kind of blotchy. But I think what you're going to find is once we smooth it out, once we mixer brush it in together, it's going to look pretty awesome. So we have the variance of hues right here. That cool. Have this right here. Cool. Soft. Soften that edge. Soften this edge. Soften this one. See, now it's starting to come together. Now we're starting to get a nice likeness, you know. We got that right here. Let me color pick there. There we go. That's that color I wanted. Cool. And then under the eye, I really like that color too, because it's kind of a cooler yellow. You see how it sort of introduces some of the, actually I should say it's a warmer yellow. It's closer to the reds and the oranges than it is and then here slight variance. Now we got that. Want some of this, bam, bam, there. Right there, cool. Then what I'm going to do, I know I talked about not using black and white, but at the very end here, what I am going to do is I am going to use something very close to pure black here and in the nostril. So we get what that face really like. And actually, I need to lighten this up in the middle here. So something like that. So something right here. Boom, boom, boom. Now we're gonna come in here. Let's do our nice, lovely. There's a blur tool, smudge tool. Smudge tool. And I think it's gonna be smudge soft edges. That. Now we're gonna smudge these out a little bit. Like that. So the nice thing about a smudge tool, I don't use it a ton, but if you kind of want to lose edges and kind of get really beautiful blends, slight touches of a smudge tool come a long way. Look at that. Like, now the face is actually starting to look like it's turning away from the light, and get some of that in. So we have that. And plus you'll see I'm smudging some of these edges here just to give us a little bit of wiggle room for our very last final pass. So I'm gonna get there. I'm gonna actually get the flat textured brush here, and then I'm gonna outline this again with the super bright
taxes and fees. With Spectrum Mobile, you'll pay $0 in added taxes and fees no matter how many lines you have. So stop paying and start saving.
Give a little bit of
save by switching. Click to learn more. Spectrum Internet required.
That one.
.com/facts for details.
Boom. There we go.
Love getting prices that are lower than low on food that's fresher than fresh?
Cool.
Then shop at Kroger. We give you more ways to save on the
There we go.
with tools like the Kroger,
Yeah.
where you can find personalized coupons on top of
Now let's do the little collar. We're done. Because the rest of it, you know, it's messy, but that's fine.
Health goals with the new Kroger.
That's fine.
Visit Kroger.com/dietitian.
So we're gonna come in. I actually have the brush I want, which is my textured kind of, I call it the platinum brush. So now I'm actually gonna come in. I'm gonna make these last little design choices.
So let's talk. Click now
to really kind of.
And you could win a month of gloriously uninterrupted music with Spotify Premium.
That.
You can enjoy all your favorite
Get
artists.
this. Boom.
Sound good? Then all you need to do is hit the banner now for your chance to win.
So bam. Cool. Then here's actually where we're gonna get, yeah, very, very, very close to the darkest we can get. Cool. Yeah. That looks cool. Then we're gonna go over it again with the light, and you see how that's like adding a lot of that cool looking texture to it. And there we go. And then what's nice is you can actually use this to kind of come up within the face as well. It does this nice overlap, and overlapping is good because it's a technique that gives you depth. Very, very easy to do too. Just draw your shape on top over another shape and you're done, you know. Okay. Something like this, something like that. And then we come in here. Bam. Gotcha. All right. So I think, yeah, and then this ambient occlusion. Cool. And that still doesn't look quite right to me. There we go. That's better. It just needed to be more of like a solid shape, I guess. We got that. Got that. We'll hit a few of these too. Kind of hit that color right here. Gonna come out here. Do that. Cool. Awesome. I think that is a wrap. Yep. Cool. So now let's hide our reference. And that's what we got. Nice. Cool. So we're going to add our, let's see, select all, edit, copy. So we got our signature here. All right. So that's it. That is our finished piece right here. And I think we got something pretty good, especially what, 2.5 hours? Probably took us about an hour, or not an hour, half an hour to get started. So about a 2-hour portrait study. Not bad. I know I had a John Singer Sargent one. We'll probably do that one next time we do an art stream. I just didn't want to stay on here all day. I may actually touch up kind of where that shadow hits the wall. Kind of let that go in more of that triangle shape again. But I'm going to post this up on social media. And that will be basically the stream for today. First stream of 2021. Hope you guys had a great, safe new year. 2021, man, already starting off with a bang, I guess. But bunch of cool stuff coming. I'm excited. This is the year I get to show you guys my Warhammer stuff, Varia stuff for the card game. So a lot of really exciting things going on. In fact, I don't want to jinx it, but I'm actually talking to doing more Warhammer art. So who knows? But I hope you learned something on here. This was more of an educational, edutainment stream on kind of my process and what I look at whenever I make portraits. So sometimes we'll just do some more laid back streams. We'll just chat, just draw something. It'll be less preachy, less teachy, but just more fun. And hey, we're going to play more video games too. So that'll be fun. I do want to go live a few times a week. That's the goal, just to hang out with everyone. Kind of talk to other human beings rather than be by my lonesome all the time. Now that I work from home, this is where I work, so talk to people. It'd be fun. But anyways, that's my time. Take care. I will see you all very, very soon. This should be up on YouTube, or I might make it Twitch exclusive. I don't know. We'll figure that stuff out. But anyways, take care. We'll see you again real soon, and we'll talk to you later. Peace.